Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with the video. My husband, 35 male, and I, 32 female, have been married for 7 years. He works 9 to 5 while I work from home as a copywriter. We are decently well off. I have done my level best to keep everything around the house neat and clean. I have always gone out of my way to make sure my husband came home to a clean house and a warm meal. I did my best to make him happy, and I was sure that I did make him happy. We never fought. We do not argue. We always worked as a unit, and we never had problems. That is why when a week ago my husband decided to come home and tell me that he expects me to leave the house in 2 days, I was shocked. I could not understand why I was being thrown out. My husband did not dignify me with any answer. He told me that I had to leave as soon as possible, and he was simply being kind by giving me 2 days when really, he does not even want to spend a day under the same roof as me. He had already filed for separation, and he will give me the papers soon enough. I was shocked. I was crying and begging to understand my husband why he was kicking me out. I wanted to know because I had done everything that I could have to make him feel loved, and yet here he was getting rid of me. But he simply would not budge. He started raising his voice at me, telling me that he is not willing to tolerate me for a moment further, and he wants me to get out as soon as possible because I'm barely tolerable in his eyes. At one point, he grabbed my arm and threw me out of the house because I was refusing to leave. I was curled up around the front door. I kept knocking, and he never opened it. It was painful because I had zero idea why I was being thrown away, cast aside. When he came out of the house the next morning, my husband walked past me like I was not there. He locked the door behind me and dropped my purse onto my lap. He told me that he has taken out the keys to getting in the house, that he will complain to the police if I try to break in, and he will call the police if he comes home to me curled up against the front door. I did not want to end up in jail. I was not sure if I would, but I still did not want to take any chances, so I took whatever money I had in my purse and went back home. My parents' place is about 2 hours' drive from where I lived. I used the bus to get to my mom's place, and I was extremely distraught when I finally saw her. I cried a bunch, and my mom guided me back into my room. I stayed in the room for I don't know how long. I have vague memories of my mother dropping by with food and me refusing to leave the bed for it. My brother came up and checked on me, but when he noticed I was depressed and stuck in bed, he comforted me and left. It took me about 3 days to finally get out of bed and start eating food. Even though I was trying to function and lead a normal life, it was like I was moving around with a hole in my heart. Things were slowly but surely starting to look up when I saw something in the mail. It was his wedding invitation. He was getting married even though we were barely living apart from one another. And the wedding invitation was for my brother, so I was even more upset. I want to trust my family because I am sure they will not hurt me, but I thought my husband was my family too. And look at what he did. I want to confront my brother and understand why he is attending his wedding even though he's kicked me out, but I'm wondering if I would be TA for doing that. I mean, my brother and my husband were close friends, and I do not want to ruin their friendship just because my marriage with him fell through. But I want to know if my brother knows about the whole thing any more than I do. But I don't want to be mean. Thank you so much for all your kind words. You have been incredibly sweet to me, and I could never thank you enough. People who think this is fake, I wish it was, because I did not like being kicked out either. Just to answer a few common questions all of you have. My brother and my husband were extremely close with one another since their university years, and this is how I met my husband. My brother was supportive of our marriage because he was the one who had bought the house my husband and I lived in as a gift. So I am thinking he did not mind it. My mother is also friendly with my husband. My husband has been a part of my family for a while, and that is why I'm scared of ruining the relationship he has with the family, just because he ditched me. I feel like if I do confront my brother and mother, I would ruin the relationship they have with him, but I do not want to be vindictive. I'm hurt. Don't get me wrong, but I also do not want to ruin his wedding. Not like that, at least. I suppose I just want to be a better person, which is why I'm worried about being an a-hole. I do not know when would be the right time to confront my family because they have been avoiding the topic of my husband like a plague. I know they're doing this to protect me, and I suppose that's why I am. It is my husband's wedding day today. I have not left the bed at all. My mom is staying back, but my brother has left to attend the wedding. I have been staying in my room the entire time. I thought about confronting them, but I simply could not bring myself to do it. It simply felt wrong, so I have been sitting on those feelings since that day. I'm planning on confronting them once my brother comes home. Maybe my husband will send the divorce papers through my brother. I have no idea. I have been skipping work a lot, and that has me feeling extremely guilty. So today, I plan on focusing on my work and pretending that my husband is not getting married. Wish me luck. So many things have happened, so I will do my best to mention everything important chronologically. My mother and brother both knew about my husband's wedding, but because of my mother's hobby, my mother is an avid poker player and there is a club downtown that she frequently visits. My husband is also a member of the poker club. She had no idea about his wedding until he saw her hand out his wedding invitation to his poker friends. From whatever she knew about it, she thinks that my husband got someone pregnant and told them that he is single, which is why there was such a rush to get married. My brother confirmed that the wife was indeed 4 months pregnant. My brother crashed his wedding just to let the wife know that he has not divorced me and the luxurious house that he was staying in is not going to be his, as my brother did leave it under my name, and he is the one who is getting kicked out. That understandably caused a huge commotion, and from what my brother gathered, the wife was not happy to learn that. I'm currently living in the house that my brother crashed the wedding for. Partly, I'm extremely happy that my family backed me up the way they did and took care of me the way they did. My brother came clean to me after he came home from the wedding. Both of them sat me down and explained the whole thing to me. They had been planning this since they found out about my husband's marriage, and my brother absolutely hated that he was planning on getting married even though we were barely separated. So he decided to crash the wedding the way he did. They also explained that given I was constantly crying and moping around, they did not want to trigger another breakdown in me by informing me about everything before he did that thing, because they were sure I would try to stop them. They were right, I probably would have, so I'm definitely glad that they did not allow me to do that. My husband has tried to reach out to me, talking about how we should work on the marriage as we are meant to be. I'm assuming something happened to the wife because why else would he come crawling back to me? But I did not bother with it. I told him to get lost and instead choose to focus on me instead. I served him the papers myself, and so far that has been a good decision for the sake of my mental health. Your husband sounds like an abusive POSOP. Who in their right mind does that? Please divorce him as soon as you can. And no, you won't be TA for confronting your family. It seems a little suspicious that they have not come clean to you about what they are doing with your husband's wedding invitation. But how do your husband and brother know one another? It is an incredibly powerful move to kick out the sister and then invite the brother to a new wedding. OP, you should talk to your family when you can. You are affected by it all, and it is not fair to you that you have to keep internalizing all of this. Edit 2. Good on your brother for crashing his wedding. He did the right thing, and I'm glad your family did the right thing. Your husband deserves all the shit he's going to get for pulling this stunt on you. My heart goes out to you, OP. I can understand why your husband's shift in personality has caught you off guard, but he does sound like an a-hole and you deserve so much better. I hope you can separate from him quickly and be with someone who is not this unpredictable. My mother-in-law is going through a separation with her husband, my wife's stepdad. As a result, she has moved out of their house and is currently bouncing around from family member to family member. She's been doing this for about 6 months. She's stayed with us for about 2 months of that time, spread out over 3 visits. This has caused some stress on our marriage, so I don't do well with extra people in my living space. But my wife feels bad for her mom because she was fully dependent on stepdad and doesn't have a job or a place of her own anymore. For Christmas this year, we were going to spend Christmas Eve with my wife's family at my wife's aunt's house and then come home and spend Christmas Day at our house as a family. But now my mother-in-law has asked my wife if she can come home with us after Christmas Eve and spend some more time with us over the holidays. I told my wife that spending Christmas Day at home as a family alone was her idea, and we agreed on it together. But she said she doesn't want her mom to be alone on Christmas. I told her that her mom was planning on staying at the aunt's place, but is only now wanting to come home with us. It started to turn into an argument about mother-in-law needing to get her life figured out, and my wife told me to stop fighting about that because that part isn't important, and she just wants her mom to feel like she's still part of a family during Christmas. So I eventually relented and said that mother-in-law can come with us for Christmas, but I have conditions. I said that mother-in-law can come home with us if she agrees to watch our 2 kids for New Year's weekend so that my wife and I can go do something fun with some friends or alone if we want to. Get a hotel or Airbnb, who knows? My wife said that her mom is not a free babysitter and that we can't expect her to just watch our kids for us whenever we want. I told her that if mother-in-law isn't a babysitter, then we aren't a hotel. And if she's going to keep going from house to house being dependent on people, she's going to have to pull her weight if it's going to be our house she's staying in. My wife said she won't ask her mom to babysit our kids for free for an entire weekend. So I said in that case, she and mother-in-law can stay home with the kids and I will find something fun I want to do for New Year's weekend by myself. My wife said I'm being selfish and that mother-in-law is going through a hard time in her life and she needs family support. She said I am being a jerk by making that support conditional on mother-in-law doing things for us instead of just doing it because we want what's best for her. She said that if I leave to do something on my own for New Year's, then I will have to be the one to explain to our kids why I am not there to bring in the new year with them. I told her that I have no problem talking to our kids about that, but I won't tell them the whole truth that their mom is putting mother-in-law ahead of our family and relationship. She called me an AH and has been cold with me ever since. NTA at all. She's been bouncing around from house to house for 6 months. It's not like this separation is a completely fresh wound that she hasn't had any time to process yet. If the divorce had been more recent, I might agree with the YTA responses. It's probably time she starts figuring out what her permanent housing solution is going to be. It's completely reasonable to start asking for some favors in exchange for your trouble at this point. Also, she's going to need a place to stay for NYE anyway. So is it really that unreasonable? I personally don't think so. NTA, it's not really a big ask of the mother-in-law, and your wife doesn't seem to want to compromise on anything. It seems like she always gets the last say and her decision is final. You offered a compromise to the mother-in-law, staying for Christmas even after plans had already been made and your wife is being difficult. For all anybody knows, your mother-in-law might actually love the idea of having her grandchildren all to herself for a weekend. Your wife is not only making decisions for you, but doing it for her mother too. You're not TA, but your wife is being one. NTA, it is emotionally exhausting to have someone stay with you when there's no end in sight. I get that she's going through a hard time with her separation, but it seems she has no interest in finding a place and supporting herself. I'm not sure if she's helping out financially at all, with groceries or bills. But if she's not, then I don't see why it would be a problem to ask for a favor when you've been putting her up on and off for months. For the record, I don't think she's an AH either, unless she truly isn't grateful for what you've done for her so far. I do feel like your wife should balance what's best for you and the kids as well as her mom. I rent a house with 5 other people. We all have our own rooms. Well, one guy pays the most rent and has the basement. It's all part of the rental agreement. Living with them is fine. One of them is my best friend, but the others are just people who agree to be roommates. I have a small freezer in my room and keep the majority of my food in my room. It's either in my closet or in the fridge. Things like butter and uncooked vegetables and meat go in the main fridge. I'm not a stingy person or doing this to hide my food. There are 5 grown men living. If someone puts their large takeout container with half a burger inside the fridge, it takes up too much space. We all buy our own stuff too. So 5 jugs of milk all in one fridge would take up a lot of space. 5 things of orange juice, 5 packs of butter, etc., etc. So I keep stuff like cooked food, snacks, and drinks in my room, and so do the others. All was going well until recently one of the guys moved out and we got a new roommate. Quickly, it became him opening the fridge and going, "Where's the milk?" Or him going in the cupboard and asking where the cereal is. He knocks on our doors at times and asks for a portion of milk for his cereal. Stuff like this. I don't mind. If he wanted some chips, I don't mind. But now his asking has increased and I cut him off. I guess I was being dickish, but we are all boys and this is just how we talk. He'd knock on the door and I'd say, "What does broke boy want?" He isn't broke, but I wouldn't turn him down all the time. When I had it to spare, I'd give it to him. But he asks so often that now I do pick on him every time. I'm always heavy with banter in general, but I only got on when he started asking too much. Also, he doesn't cook, so he just wants the junk food in our rooms. I lock my room door whenever I leave the house. I don't think my roommates are bad, but only one of them is my friend. Over Thanksgiving, I took a trip to my grandma's house and the door was locked the whole time. I was gone for 4 days and he was texting me, "Can I have food item?" I just said, "You broke even through text." Then he asked me why my door was locked. So I'm assuming he tried to get in. Then he asked where my spare key was and I just didn't respond. When I got back, he said I was an a-hole for locking my room. I thought the whole situation was ridiculous, so I was just joking, making fun of him. I told him to knock on the doors of the grocery store instead of mine. Apparently, he asks all the other roommates for food as well, but makes more money than all of us. I told my family members about the situation during Thanksgiving, and they said I should just be kind and giving. NTA. Instead of joking, though, just be upfront and tell him he needs to take care of his own food needs from now on. He shouldn't know your room is locked because he shouldn't be trying to get into your room for any reason short of some kind of fire or other extreme emergency concern. Keep your door locked from now on. I disagree with your family. Being kind and giving is different than being an in-home chef. If he's willing to pay you and you're willing to provide food service for him for that pay, then that's on you. But the kicking it once in a while with some jokes is being kind and giving. More than that is being taken advantage of, especially if he can afford to feed himself. NTA, stop giving him stuff. You're 5 guys. So he mooches off one of you 2 times of the week and never needs to buy stuff. You think, oh, it's just 2 times. But he actually mooches every freaking day, but not off the same person. He can buy his own stuff. You and the other also buy your own stuff. Just think how much money he saves with never buying groceries. If he comes next time, hand him a price list. Don't forget the handling fee. I personally would be so annoyed to get always disturbed because this guy is too lazy to shop, and to think he wanted to go in your room without your permission. Maybe talk with the other roommates. I wouldn't be surprised if they are also sick of his behavior, and maybe you can do together something against him. NTA, you're not responsible for feeding your roommate. He's old enough and apparently financially able to buy his own food. Maybe he was never taught how to shop for groceries, so you might offer some hints. In no way is he entitled to enter your room at will and help himself to your food. Is it possible you're becoming an enabler? Something to think about. Good luck.